Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages and sizes, welcome to June, and welcome to a brand new set of stories narrated by yours truly. Let's get right into it. D&D Dungeon Masters of Reddit. What is the most useless magical item you've ever given your party, and how did they use it? Part 1. We were playing through a pre-made campaign. At one point, the players retrieve a magical artifact, which turns out to be an orb of controlled dragons. It does exactly what you would expect. In theory, it could have been very useful, except no dragons were showing up in the campaign, so it was basically useless. It did, however, lead to a running gag where our most paranoid player kept attempting to control dragon random NPCs to see if they were secretly dragons in disguise. Once, my party got a huge, beautiful magic sword which was improperly identified as a sword of ogre slaying. Instead, it was a cursed sword of ogre saying. Whoever wielded it would only be able to yell, "Ogre!" at things. Several adventures later, they were attempting to catch a thief who was evading them. They came up with the brilliant idea of setting the sword as bait, and just going about their business. Sure enough, sometime later they heard, "Ogre! Ogre! Ogre!" ring out throughout the town, and they caught him without consequence. Gave my party a sash of swimming. See, retextured aquatic cummerbund. I don't know why that was funny. They put it on a donkey pulling their wagon and promptly forgot about it. I haven't, though. 2 years later, I haven't. Hey, someone's got to save the ass from drowning. When one of my players found a magic ring in the wreckage of a burnt wagon, he provisionally identified it as a ring of invulnerability. This can't go well. He spends most of the rest of the session swanning about like he's invincible until he's confronted by a venerable army of goblins. Combat immediately ensues, and to his surprise, he is quickly felled by javelins and scimitars. As he lays there, bleeding out in the dirt, he notices that the ring is completely undamaged. I gave one of the characters a magical cloak that billows on command, even if there's no wind. He used it to make dramatic entrances. I had a magical red rubber duck. That's just gold right there. Gave it to the party as a joke item because they kept asking for weird shit. Not one of them chose to identify it. It was an artifact level rubber duck. Once it was part of your inventory, it would never leave unless it wanted to. It had wisdom and intelligence of 28, sentience, and could be attuned. Nobody learned that it was probably the most powerful item in my game. Was playing a campaign on a tropical island type of place, and an enemy knocked my weapon off a cliff. So I used a coconut as an improvised weapon. Crit with that thing 4 times in a row and decided to keep it for last hitting people. Was a barbarian, and the DM liked the coconut last hitting so much he had me keep track of the kills, and I eventually had a +3 coconut that on a crit would ricochet until it didn't kill something. So basically, he gave me a coconut of great potential. Sorry that I didn't write this from a DM's perspective. No, don't, man. You literally cast-awayed the shit out of some monsters, and we all loved it. A rope that couldn't be tied, not even for a second. They were facing a dragon who loved puzzles and eating non-dragons. They gave him the rope and made the deal that if the dragon couldn't make a knot within an hour, then the dragon would need to let them pass through. Edit. Just to clear something up, this didn't happen with the actual D&D rulebook. It's just that the internet never asks for the entire pen and paper genre with these questions. The game was played using the DSA rulebook, with complete house rules for NPCs and basically every hard-coded game elements. They found a wand that creates a random and unique lock that incorporates itself into the substance it's used on. So, it might make a suspicious recess in a stone wall, or a brass-plated keyhole on a wooden door. If probed with lockpicks, you would encounter moving tumblers or some other appropriate but unique locking mechanism. The lock was completely non-functional though. It didn't magically create a compartment, it just made a lock. Even if you used it on a desk drawer, it never made a latch or bolt. So, the drawer would never open perfectly perfectly fine, while having a useless metal cylinder with tumblers that weren't connected to anything. If you successfully picked the lock, it always felt like a real lock despite lacking the physical pieces, it would make a soft chiming noise, and the lock would evaporate. The wand was a training tool used by a famous locksmith to challenge himself and his students. It had no practical application at all outside of that profession. It ended up being used by the druid, who had ranks and used magical device, don't ask, to constantly mess with the rogue. Oh god. The druid would take every opportunity to wild shape into a small critter good for scouting, and then place fake locks anywhere the rogue might conceivably try to use the search skill. The rogue's increasing paranoia whenever he found a lock, and his overblown promises of vengeance every time a random hole in a floorboard wasted a minute of his time and chimed at him was a pretty good gag. It turned a little sour when the druid made an extra lock on an honest-to-goodness treasure chest. The rogue rolled a natural 20 to pick the first lock and got a chiming noise. Then he rolled a 3 and triggered an energy-draining trap that permanently lost him 5 HP. After that, the rogue stole every wand the druid had in the middle of the night and threw them all into a bottomless pit in the Underdark. Not D&D Dungeon Master, but I played Narration. This is a post-apocalyptic RPG system, think Fallout/Mad Max climates. One guy was so fucking stubborn searching one abandoned building that I finally gave him a potato. That motherfucker carved it for the shape of a hand grenade and painted it green, etc., etc. Then he used it in negotiations with some NPCs, pretending that he was insane and bluffing that he's gonna blow them all up with himself. Well, I was really impressed and proud of the creativeness of this player. And me too, man. Me too. The magical +3 sword of Edward Tumbleton's slaying. Edward Tumbleton was a tailor in a nearby city. They discovered a sword that was very effective at killing him, and just him. Neither the party nor any other person on the planet had any reason to kill the guy. The party ended up killing him by blowing up his shop with a fireball. The sword was never used. I once gave my party a magic spoon. It emitted a terrible aura of dark illusion magic, and merely holding it filled players with a sense of dread from its sheer chaotic energy. Its in-game abilities were thus: it worked like a fork instead of a spoon. In a game I'm currently in, our DM gave us a flask of endless water. It can produce water in a trickle, a flood, or deluge that shoots 30 gallons of water in one turn. Our cleric had just fallen from a bridge over a chasm, and through clever bullshitting, our sorcerer has managed to catch the falling cleric with a web spell. As we are all racking our brains to figure out a way to save them, our cleric pulls out the flask and uses the water cannon mode to propel herself back onto the bridge using the web strands as a fulcrum. You think that's bad? Oh, here we go. I had to literally ban the 3.5 spell Create Water because my entire party rolled classes that could learn it. The default is Cleric/Druid, but there's books that award it to Arcane Casters too, and solved everything with the stupid cantrip. It would blow your mind how many puzzles, traps, combat encounters, and social situations can be solved by liberal application of magic water. Someone refuses to talk? Waterboard them. Pressure plates might be down this hallway? Set them off from a distance with a flood. There's a locked anything? Break it by dropping water from a height. Ambushed? Turn the road to mud and run away. Setting an ambush? Turn the road to mud and wait. Starving? You can survive for 10 days on just water. Need to escape from a conversation? A pipe bursts and the building floods. The list goes on. Turns out physicists and engineers can turn a cantrip into the powerful equivalent of a 9th level spell given enough thought. My infamous horn of resounding quacks was a hit. Summoned any duck within half a mile radius of the person using it. The party never went hungry after that. Edit. For clarification, it was indeed to call any and all ducks within the half-mile radius, but it wasn't a matter of instant teleportation. Ducks have to travel, but do so willingly, answering the call of the horn. Not a DM, but a player with cheeky DMs. The Rock of Gravity Detection. It's literally just a stone you hold up and let go of. If it falls, congratulations, you've detected gravity. This is like the biggest dad joke item in the world. I love it. I gave one of my players a delicious magical sandwich that regenerated itself each day as long as you didn't eat the crust. It didn't offer any magical benefits when you ate it, it was just an infinite sandwich. That sandwich became a character in and of itself. The amount of time that was spent talking about the sandwich, its contents, the flavor, etc., it was crazy. Every player described how their character would oogle the sandwich whenever it was brought out. The character is gone for now, but she kept that sandwich right up until retirement. She spends her time in Candlekeep Library devouring knowledge and also the sandwich. Not me as a DM, but early in the 3rd edition days, my friend's older brother was DMing a game for my friends, my sister, and myself. One of the items we got was rolled on the random table was a gust of wind fan. It was exactly what it sounds like. Wave it creates a powerful enough gust of wind to propel a boat and possibly rip itself to tatters. Threw it in the pack and forgot about it. A few sessions later, we're defending a town from waves of invaders. The final boss is a Cyclops or an Etten or something. Big bruiser. We see it approaching with enough time to prepare for its arrival. My sister asks us all to use our healing potions, then give her the glass vials, which we do. Then she turns to the DM and calmly explains how she takes the vials with her up a guard tower. She smashes and grinds them up, waits for an opportune time, then uses the fan to blow a gust of powdered glass particles into the Etten's eyes. The look on the man's face, a cross between "holy shit, that's awesome, I'm so happy a story like this is in my campaign world now," and "fuck, this boss was supposed to be difficult." We were playing a campaign with custom items we all put in. They were reasonable, and someone put in a staff that whenever someone used it, it turned the user into a potato. They could still move and turn themselves back, but that was about it. So we were in a dungeon that was rather small. Our 6-foot-tall barbarian was angry that he had a debuff, but there was a small slit in the wall that I hid an item behind, and our magic man went poof and rolled into the slit and got a key for a chest at the end of the dungeon. So yeah, edit. Why is Potato Rick the joke you guys came up with? Because it's the exact same joke that my friend made when we put the item in the game. Hey buddy, if you're listening to this, did the joke kind of sound like, hey Morty, I turned myself into a potato, Morty, I'm Potato Rick! My group had a habit of giving items that sounded very useful, but were the complete opposite. For example, our wizard was gifted a wand of fireball. As you'd expect, he was extremely disappointed when in the middle of combat he used the wand and Fireball by Pitbull started playing mid-fight. One of my favorite gag items was a ring of teleportation. Every time you attempted to use it, the ring would teleport to the destination of your choosing, just not with you. Worst time to figure that out was when I, the rogue, was cornered and alone fighting 3 wolves, which at level 2 was, not fun. Not while I was DMing, but my favorite useless magic item to this day is the Boots of Quickstep. Once per turn, you may click your heels as an action to gain an action. It resulted in my character beginning each of his turns clicking his heels. It was marvelous. Edit. The first time it was used, it teleported to the inn we had been staying at, and when we got back, it apparently had been taken. So we never got to use it as a weapon and teleport it into anyone's brains. Hey everyone, Brian here. I just wanted to quickly say, yeah, I'm a bit confused by the Boots of Quickstep story too, because of the ending about teleporting and using it as a weapon and teleporting it into anyone's brains. Maybe that wasn't meant to be there, but I read it anyway, and I think we all had a little good confusing laugh, like, what does that mean? It's like, I don't get it either. I'm a little perplexed by that. It was, anyway, that away, I really hope that everyone is doing well. And that June, especially for all of you, me, everyone included, we all have a lot of love, a lot of laughter, and a lot of good fortune come to us in all aspects of life. Financial, mental, and physical. And I hope that if you like the video, that you do flick that like button. It definitely does help. And if you're new here, welcome. Consider subscribing as well. We always love expanding the community, and all of you are more than welcome to be here. And if you want to share any stories with us, you can do so here in the comments or in our subreddit, link in the description. Now, with all that said and done, I leave you with a fond farewell after many rich, loving, and kind of funny stories. Be safe, be happy, and I'll see you next time.